Hey there, welcome to Provo, Utah. Today I am actually in beautiful Provo, Utah, and today I'm going to really walk you through some of the pros and cons of living right here. My husband and I lived here many years ago, and so really I had an opportunity to live here, so I can tell you personally some of the pros and cons that I experienced when I was living here, and then really some of the pros and cons that other people that we know that personally live here, some of the things that they say about it. So we're going to hop into it right now. Mariah Koehle here. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your very first time here. I'm a licensed and active real estate agent here in Utah, and this channel is literally everything you need to know about eating, working, playing, sleeping, and living in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. If that is of interest to you, consider subscribing down below. Make sure you tap that bell for notifications so you are notified every week we drop a new video. We hear from people like you all the time who are looking to make a move here to Utah or relocate here, and we absolutely love it. If you are thinking about buying or selling a home here in Utah as well, we hear from people like you all the time. So feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and it would be our absolute pleasure to connect with you. So here I am today in beautiful Provo, Utah. You can tell there's still the snow-capped mountains, but it's a gorgeous day out. It's, I think, 65 degrees as I'm shooting this video. So really one of the main pros to here in Provo is simply the beauty. You are nestled right up against this. I'm on the east bench of Provo. There's the east, there's the west, different parts of Provo, but today I'm near the east bench of Provo, right outside of where City Center is and then where Brigham Young University is. And really, number one pro is simply the beauty. And then number two, kind of going right along with the beauty, is the proximity. You are close to a lot of different things. If you are into the outdoors, right behind me is, there's a big Y on the mountain, and a lot of people here love hiking the Y. They love being outdoors. And so really the proximity to outdoor activities, the hiking, the biking. Provo Canyon is honestly probably one of my favorite canyons around the Salt Lake area and in Utah County. That Provo Canyon, winter, spring, summer, fall, I feel like there's never a bad time going through that canyon or experiencing the canyon. There are, bike trails that just go for miles and miles and miles. There's a little river that runs down it. I know my husband and I, years ago, we would float down the river. They actually have a company that takes you in you pay for a tube and they'll bus you up to the top of the Provo River, and then you float all the way down. In the fall time, the leaves are just so gorgeous and beautiful, changing colors. You see bikers out there all the time. So really the proximity to outdoor activities is incredible. The proximity to the airport, if you're thinking, gosh, where's the nearest airport? There is actually an airport here in Provo. Yes, there's an airport here in Provo, and they're actually expanding the airport here as well. So you, depending on where you really are in Provo, you can be 5 or 10 minutes away from the Provo airport. The international airport, Salt Lake, you're more like 25 to 30 minutes, depending on where you're at here in Provo. But as an international airport goes, about 30 minutes away. The proximity is really fantastic. If you are a student or an educator or anything that revolves around the education system, Brigham Young University is a very well-known university here, and Brigham Young is right here in Provo. So the proximity here to outdoor activities, really to the airports, to all education, proximity here is a big one. So number three, moving right along, we've got the beautiful outdoors, we've got the proximity. Number three is the cost of living. The cost of living here in Provo compared to some of the other areas is significantly lower. There is a lot of housing options here in Provo as well. If you are a student and you are going to, Brigham Young University, there, lots of student options there. But then simply there's a lot of housing that is in and around Provo. And really, if you go a little bit south of Provo, also Payson, Mapleton, Spanish Fork, some of those areas that are, a little bit south of Provo too. There are people that, want to live there. Cost of living, again, compared to Provo, you're going to see Provo as being a little bit more affordable with that. Number four, a lot of people like moving here too, simply because it's really family friendly. The crime rate is low here, and it just has a really nice sense of community, a nice sense of, family friendly, like I mentioned. I know personally, we during the summertime, Utah and especially Provo has some really spectacular festivals that, one in particular is during the 4th of July. They have something called the Freedom Day Festival. Yes, the Freedom Day Festival. And it's really all over Provo, but they've got like a hot air balloon launch. They've got, it's called Stadium of Fire, where they've got, it's really an incredible production. Some years, they have big headline singers that come out and sing. They've got airplanes that go across with parachuters coming down. I mean, it really is spectacular. So really just that family friendly sense of community. The festivals are incredible. Lots to do in Provo. So Provo is one of those places where people move here because there's a lot to do, the family friendly, and like I said, the low crime rate that's here as well. And number five, one of the pros of living here, you will experience all 4 seasons. Yes, all 4 seasons. So winter, spring, summer, fall. You're going to have an incredible fall with, the changing of leaves, and spring, you've got the beautiful blossoms. Wintertime, you're going to see snow-capped mountains all over. Spring, and so you're really going to experience all 4 seasons here. And it's a pretty active place. You see a lot of people out and about, walking, hiking, biking, on people on their scooters. So it really is an active place to be. Okay, so let's chat about a few of the cons for living here in Provo. And some people feel like this is a pro and a con. Number one is Provo is a college, it is a college community. And because of that, when school's in session, you're going to see a lot more students. You're going to see a lot more traffic here in Provo, simply because you've got 30,000 plus students that are coming to Brigham Young University. So with that, sometimes the traffic, especially when school's in session, it's going to be backed up a lot more. I know personally, when we lived here, when my husband was finishing up grad school here, there were some times where you'd be stuck at a light and you're going, oh my goodness, how long am I going to be stuck at this light for? Of, cars just keep going and going and going, and you can't turn left. And sometimes I know that can be a pain, but you'll allow a little bit of extra time and you're fine. But number one is just that traffic to be aware of. Number two is yes, there's a lot of housing around, but a lot of times the housing can be limited, and there's different restrictions on some of the housing as well. So I've had people that have reached out that have said, hey, you know what, Mariah, I want to buy an investment property here in Provo. What can you tell me about that? Well, here's the thing. There are certain areas that are zoned for, specific, yes, you can have, short-term or longer term rentals. There's other areas that are not. There are some that are specifically zone for BYU approved housing. There are some that are not. So kind of just knowing that if you're thinking about moving here, sometimes the housing can be tricky and it can be a little bit more limited depending on what you're looking for. But there's still a lot of housing options here. But just knowing what you want and what you're going into will help you narrow down that search for sure. Number three, this never applied to me, and so this never seemed like a con, but number three is the nightlife that's here in Provo. From what I hear, it is very limited. I know when my husband and I lived here, our date night was basically, let's go to the movie theater, let's do our grocery shopping, let's go somewhere fun around here, but go for a hike. But the nightlife here for some is just not what they're looking for, which kind of leads me into number four. Here in Provo, you are going to meet a lot of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That religion is the predominant religion. So when you're even driving around here, you will see lots of church buildings. Provo has 2 temples. Actually, I think they just put in a third one that are here in the surrounding areas. So you are going to see a lot of that. On Sundays, you will see people walking around in their nice dress clothes and shirt and tie. You will just experience a lot of that. For some, that's a huge pro, and that's why they want to move here, is because they want to be surrounded by that environment. For other people, they're like, gosh, it's just a little bit too much. I know when my husband and I moved here, we experienced that, where we were like, wow, this feels like a lot of the same, which we loved, and it was great. But for other people, they're like, it's too much of the same. And then really moving on to number 5 as a con, again, like I mentioned, there are the 4 seasons here. And sometimes winter, especially this year, winter 2023, felt like it was so long. And I know when we lived here many years ago, for us, the winter felt long. I had moved from Northern California, where, winter, it never snowed, but it seemed like, you'd have a few rainy days, and then it kind of cleared up and it was a little bit warmer. Here in Provo, for some, it's a draw, or, it's a negative, simply because those winters can feel like they go on for a very, very long time. One thing about Provo that you should know, though, and this actually kind of surprised me, was a lot of times, it will snow one day, but then the snow, a lot of it won't stick. So even as I'm shooting this video, it snowed last week. Yes, it snowed last week here. And as you can see, the grass looks green. Like, it looks like we are full blown, almost in summer mode, but it did just snow. But one thing, like I said, the snow really doesn't stick for very long. In the winter, though, you will definitely see snow around, and obviously you'll see it all over, all over the mountains. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of a snapshot of really some of the pros and cons of living here in Provo. Really, like I said, some of the pros, go toward those outdoor activities, the hiking, the biking. You've got Provo Canyon, you've got the proximity to not only the Provo airport, but you've got the proximity to the Salt Lake City airport. You've got the proximity if you are attending, if you're going to college here. You've got, just, you can see people walking there. It's a very active community that's here in Provo, and that's really what draws in a lot of people. You've got the low crime rate, you've got a family-friendly sort of environment. And then moving right into, like we talked about, some of the cons living here in Provo. You've got some limited housing options, and really depending on where you're at or what you're looking for, that might be a con. The traffic can be a con living here as well, simply because, when school's in session, you've got a lot more people that are here. So kind of just weighing some of those pros and cons out will give you hopefully an idea of, you know what, yeah, I'm thinking about moving to Provo. This feels like a great option for me. I know I had a family reach out recently that was like, you know what, Mariah, I've been watching your videos. I have been, I watched these other ones about Provo. And I'm really thinking like this is going to probably be a good draw for my family and I. One thing I do always recommend is come out here. If you are thinking about making a move here to Provo, come out here, take a look around, check out some of the different neighborhoods. I've got a hotspot list that if you reach out to me, I can give you some of it. If you're looking for different things, I can, direct you to some different areas that might be of interest to you. And then if you are thinking about making a move here, feel free to give my team and I a call. We hear from people like you all the time. Feel free to give us a call, a text, an email, whatever, and we would absolutely love to connect with you. And wishing you a wonderful day. Take care and have a great one. Bye.